My parents conned me into marrying a pregnant woman, even when they knew that I'm sterile. I'm Nathan, 26 male. My life appears to be what anyone would dream of. I come from a wealthy and powerful family. Last year, I completed my master's degree. Right after graduating, I landed an amazing job with an exceptionally high salary. I live in the city's most expensive district. However, from childhood, my life has felt completely pre-programmed. All I've ever known is how to please my parents and make them proud. As I mentioned, my family isn't exactly ordinary. My parents, Richard and Eleanor, are affluent and influential, and they're terrifyingly obsessed with reputation and social status. But what's truly frightening about them is their mindset of maintaining the family's perfect lineage. To them, I'm nothing more than a perfect product to flaunt to the world. From the time I was a child, everything about me was under their control. This included which schools I attended, who I socialized with, my hobbies, and even the way I dressed and carried myself. Everything had to meet their standards. The person I am today was literally molded by their hands. I also have an older brother, Daniel, who's 2 years my senior. However, Daniel isn't as outstanding as I am. I'm like the spotlight, and he's forever overshadowed, and he absolutely despises it. He always acts friendly in front of others, but I know, deep down, he's a mountain of envy. Our relationship is therefore always tense, like a taut string, constantly marked by subtle competition, much like two dogs glaring at each other. I've dedicated all my time to my studies and career. I constantly feel like I'm trapped in a cage. Looking back, I've never had a normal, decent relationship with anyone. As for romance, there's nothing to even say. I'm a complete zero. Sure enough, after graduating and landing a great job, my parents began to pressure me into marriage to continue their superior bloodline. But life had presented me with a secret. After graduating from university, I was in a pretty serious car accident and had to undergo treatment for a month. Everyone knows about that incident. The secret I can't tell anyone is that fateful night permanently took away my ability to become a father. The life plan my parents had meticulously drawn out for me suddenly veered in a different direction, one I didn't choose. However, to be honest, not being able to have children doesn't personally affect me much. Ever since I went to university, I've actually wanted to live a child-free life. Perhaps my background has given me a rather disillusioned view of family life, a place where one is imprisoned and lacks the freedom to do what they want. However, no matter my personal will or choices, the idea of being child-free was of course met with universal disapproval. To my parents, it was nothing but a selfish and debauched lifestyle. And so they introduced me to Sophia, a 24-year-old female, the daughter of their close friends. She's a very beautiful and seemingly well-educated young woman. They told me she was to be my bride, the daughter-in-law of the family, ensuring a perfect match. I was fed up just listening to them. But what other choice did I have? I started meeting with Sophia. At first, I found her strangely agreeable. Sophia was understanding to a chilling degree, like a bobblehead doll. Whatever I said, she'd nod in agreement. Whatever I liked, she'd readily accept. She never complained or had any opinions of her own. Honestly, I found it very strange, almost as if something wasn't quite real. But at the time, I just told myself she was probably nervous. After all, my parents are very powerful people, and being their daughter-in-law wouldn't be easy. After a period of getting to know Sophia, I decided to cautiously bring up the topic of children. I expressed my desire for a free, child-free life. I fully expected her to react like so many others had, but to my complete surprise, she simply smiled gently and, as always, she nodded, saying, "Oh, me too." My goodness, I thought I'd found my other half, all thanks to my parents' matchmaking. Once again, doing what they told me seemed to pay off. However, it was just a trap I unknowingly walked into. Then that night, Sophia and I, we became intimate. I don't want to go into details, but one thing I'm 100% certain of is that I used a condom. Even though my medical treatment results indicated that with my sperm count, having children was impossible, I'm a cautious person. Safety first, right? I didn't want any trouble to arise. But who would have thought that the biggest trouble of my life was waiting right around the corner? After that night, Everything started to get strange. Sophia suddenly became distant. Her messages were curt, often just a few words, and sometimes she didn't reply at all. My invitations for dates were met only with polite apologies. Honestly, I was shocked. I'd started to harbor a glimmer of hope, a small feeling of connection after so many years of solitude, and now everything had taken an inexplicably negative turn. My heart felt heavy. Was it because I had performed poorly, or had she found someone new? Everything continued to unfold in my confusion. Exactly 1 month later, while I was still grappling with swirling thoughts about Sophia and countless other life stresses, another shock hit. That Sunday morning, I was sitting at my desk. Suddenly, a long ring of the doorbell echoed, then another. I frowned. Who could be visiting at this hour? I stood up and opened the door, and that's when I froze completely, a chill running down my spine. Standing right in front of me was Sophia's entire family. Sophia, her father, her mother, and an uncle I had only met once or twice. They all stood there, faces beaming, grinning strangely, giving me an indescribable sense of unease. Sophia's father, the uncle who usually just gave a polite nod when I visited their house, now aggressively stepped forward and placed a hand on my shoulder. His face stretched into a wide, triumphant smile, his eyes sparkling with self-satisfaction. Then he slowly declared a sentence that, to this day, every single second still haunts me. Nathan, we have wonderful news for you. Sophia is pregnant, and you are the father of the baby. Finally, you have fulfilled your duty. We are so happy for you. Now everything will proceed exactly as planned. At that very moment, I felt like a 1,000-ton rock had just plummeted onto my chest. The air in the room seemed to thicken, suffocating me. Sophia's family began to prattle on about wedding plans, a man's responsibility, and the grandchild they had been waiting for. Their voices buzzed in my ears, but I couldn't comprehend a single word. My ears rang, hearing nothing but one word, repeating in my head. How? How could this happen? Everything around me spun. I looked at Sophia and saw her standing there, head bowed. She wouldn't meet my gaze. And I knew that evasive look betrayed everything. But it didn't stop there. My father also called. Immediately, he said he knew everything. He started pushing for a wedding to happen right away. The whole room seemed to explode with urgings and coercion. Perhaps it was due to the shock, the utter disbelief. I couldn't utter a word. I just stood there, like a statue, feeling cornered with no way out. The secret I'd kept hidden for so long had now become a weapon striking at my Achilles heel. That night after Sophia's family finally left, I was just an empty shell. I'm infertile, so how could I have a child? The shock, the anger, then the extreme fear. The most terrifying and disgusting thought was that Sophia had betrayed me, and now she wanted me to take responsibility for some guy's child, someone I didn't even know. Too confused and unsure of what to do, I had to write these lines to ask for everyone's help. The moment I laid everything out, the responses exploded. Everyone advised me to get a DNA test immediately, and most affirmed that this was undoubtedly a conspiracy, not an accident. I read each comment, and my mind slowly cleared. A glimmer of hope flickered, but with it came a surge of disgust. I called my boss directly and requested immediate leave. Then I booked an appointment at the clinic for Tuesday to reconfirm my condition, to be 100% sure again that I'm infertile. After that, I rushed to the store and bought a ton of pregnancy tests. That evening, I messaged Sophia, my voice cold as ice. Come to my place tomorrow morning, alone. We need to talk. I wanted a confrontation. I wanted to know what the hell was really going on. I couldn't take it anymore. The next morning, right on time, Sophia arrived, but not alone. She came with her parents and a huge gift basket. I guess they thought I called to discuss wedding plans. I told them to wait outside and only let Sophia in. Sophia's father immediately bristled. What? What is this guy going to do to my daughter? We're Sophia's parents. We must go in with our daughter. I flat out refused. Either all of you leave or she comes in alone. You choose. Finally, they relented, but their faces were bright red, livid with anger. I slammed the door shut. I pulled out the pregnancy tests and threw them onto the table. Take them, I pointed towards the bathroom. Prove to me that you're really pregnant. You won't believe what Sophia did after I said that. After a moment of stunned silence, she stared at the pregnancy tests, then suddenly started screaming like a maniac. This girl who normally just nodded and readily agreed to everything I said now had a bright red face, pointed directly at me, and shrieked piercingly, "Are you insane? How dare you hit me? How can you be so cruel? He doesn't want to take responsibility. He hit me." I was completely shocked. Not only was she acting crazy, but she was also blatantly slandering me to shift the blame. Immediately, Sophia's parents stormed into the house like a hurricane. They too began screaming, hurling the vilest insults at my face. "You bastard! You dare hit my daughter? You irresponsible scoundrel! You inhumane monster! What have you done to my daughter?" Sophia's father lunged forward, trying to grab my collar, but I quickly dodged him. Everything was an absolute horrifying mess.
Just then, the doorbell rang again. Everyone whirled around, looking towards the door. It was an image I'll never forget. My parents were standing there. Not only that, my brother was also looming behind them. His expression was indescribably complex, tense, yet also somewhat gloating and amused. Sophia's family saw them and immediately went outside. As for my own family, when they saw the chaotic scene in my house, they showed no reaction whatsoever, not a single bit. Instead, my mother looked at me with an expression of extreme disappointment, of disgust. Then she said, her voice icy cold, "Nathan, what on earth are you doing? Why aren't you cooperating? Your father and I planned everything so meticulously." Hearing those words escape my mother's lips, my world utterly collapsed. A tsunami of lies swept over me, obliterating everything I had ever believed in. It wasn't strangers. I had been betrayed and manipulated by the very people who gave me life, the ones I had spent my entire existence trying to please, trying to achieve everything they wanted. And this is what I got in return. My father stepped forward, his face eerily calm. Then he raised his hand and slapped me across the face, a blow like thunder. He spoke distinctly, word for word, his voice monotone as if reading a business contract. "Nathan, stop resisting. This is all just our plan. Don't think you're clever anymore. Do you think you can escape us? Everything you have, from this job to this house, is thanks to us. You belong to us." I don't remember how I collapsed to the floor, the burning pain from the first slap of my life. I had never been hit like that before. I just broke down, sobbing with every breath. Tears streamed down my face, not just from the pain, but from all the years of suppression and control finally bursting forth. My parents saw this and tried to make amends, to comfort me, but their voices kept repeating the same old refrain, "We know what's best for you." They still treated me like a child, and truthfully, at that moment, I was acting just like one. Still sitting on the floor, I tried my best to respond to them. I felt I had nothing left to hide. It was all too much for me. I said, "But I'm infertile. You don't know that I'm infertile. And now you shouldn't demand anything more from me." "Oh, we know that, but that doesn't matter," they said. Like a direct gunshot, my ears rang as I heard their every word. But before I could even react, they began to recount their sick plan. Sophia, under the arrangement of both families and a lot of money, had agreed to cater to every one of my whims, even my crazy, child-free idea. And after ensuring I had fallen into their trap, they then arranged for my wretched brother to ensure Sophia got pregnant. "As long as you carry the name as the child's father, Daniel will be a necessary sacrifice to ensure that the grandchild remains part of our family line. You see, Nathan," my mother said, "everything you've achieved today is thanks to listening to your parents. Your degrees, your job, and your reputation are all because your parents guided you. This time will be no different." My father nodded, his face grave. "Your mother and I know what we're doing. Going against us is a big mistake, son. It's pointless." Hearing all of that, I felt dead inside. And truly, I wished I didn't exist in that moment. I wished I hadn't been born just to be a puppet for these people. Yes, they didn't see me as their son or even as a person. I was just a puppet, a tool for them to achieve their sick delusions. A feeling of absolute disgust suddenly surged through me. I couldn't stand it for another second. I sprang up, my eyes bloodshot, pointing directly at each and every one of them. All of them. Then I screamed for the first time in all those years, "Get out of my house! Get out! You are not my parents! You are demons! Even if I die, never call me! I don't care! Get out! All of you, get out!" For the first time in my life, I saw my parents frozen. Fear flickered in their eyes. They recoiled, stood watching me in silence for a moment,
then quietly left. Immediately after, I blocked all of them. Every single one. My life, everything I had ever believed in, died right there in that house. Update 2. After that horrifying day, I knew I couldn't stay silent. There was no way I could let them live peacefully, unbothered, as if nothing had happened. I had to do something. I had to show the world their true colors. So I sat down, took a big breath. I wrote an extensive email detailing every single bit of their wicked plot, leaving no stone unturned. Once it was done, I sent that email to my entire contact list, from relatives and mutual friends to my parents' important business partners. I wanted the whole world to know the truth. Immediately, my phone blew up. Messages and calls came pouring in. Some were shocked, unable to believe it. Others were enraged, cursing those despicable people. Others called just to offer their condolences, asking if I was okay. I knew that from now on my life would never be the same, but at least I didn't stay silent. I fought back. After that email, my parents' reputation was completely ruined. Bad press was inevitable. Everyone looked at them with contempt and whispered behind their backs. However, I have to admit, their power and money are immense. An email, no matter how long, isn't enough to collapse an entire empire. Their big contracts still went through, their businesses continued as usual, and their lives wouldn't easily change. I know this shame will eat them to the bone, but it won't leave them bankrupt or ruin them completely. Still, I'm not some innocent bystander either. I did what I knew would hurt them the most. In the email, I also announced that I was completely cutting ties with them. To me, they no longer have any connection whatsoever. I was resolute that I would never accept any help from them again, never be involved with those two people again. That was the only act of retaliation I could make, and I knew it would sting more than 1,000 insults or financial losses. And then there's Daniel. Oh, my wretched brother. He's been exposed. His pretentious reputation as a scion of a distinguished family is in tatters. But Daniel's biggest karma is the rejection he faces from our parents. They were the ones who orchestrated everything, yet when it all blew up, they cast all the blame onto him, their scapegoat. Although they still provide for him, still support him because he's given them a grandchild to carry on the lineage, he's like a chained dog, fed but forever without freedom. I think that's the price he has to pay, and he deserves it. Sophia and her family have also been publicly exposed as scammers. They're shamed, despised. Sophia truly is pregnant. Her belly grows larger each day. Now she faces raising a child alone, and a future I'm certain is uncertain. Serves her right. Sophia even has to sue Daniel for paternity and child support or something. But because of all this, besides me, is there another truly pitiable victim in this mess? It's that innocent child. It hasn't even been born yet, and it's already caught in a vicious adult conspiracy. It will be born not knowing who its biological father is, not knowing it's the product of a disgusting deception. I think of it, a tiny, unborn life about to enter this world with a profoundly troubled background, and I can't help but feel tragedy. The period that followed was, for me, nothing short of hell. But I knew I couldn't wallow in that mess forever. I needed to heal, so I sought therapy. I'd sit there and just talk about everything, from my deepest anxieties to my most private secrets. It felt like shedding tons of bricks from my chest. It helped me see things more clearly, and most importantly, it allowed me to slowly start dismantling the shackles I'd worn for so long. After that, I focused on things that were truly mine. I threw myself into work. I exercised like a maniac. I also began to rebuild relationships. No more being passive or letting others dictate my life. I actively sought out true friends, people I could trust. Of course, I'm still very cautious. Being deceived made me far more vigilant, but at least I've learned to trust again, little by little. And here's a personal decision that I believe is very important to me. I underwent a vasectomy. This is my way of solidifying my child-free choice, a way of affirming that this body, this life, is mine. No one has the right to control or manipulate it anymore. Despite all this, during that time, my parents continued to try and contact me. They even enlisted my grandparents, aunts, and uncles to pressure me. It was all "come home, son," and Blood is thicker than water, why be so harsh? However, I refused every single time. In fact, if any relatives tried to interfere, I'd tell them directly, "This is my business, don't interfere, otherwise I'll cut ties with them too." I was just too exhausted. Then one time Daniel, my brother, came to find me. He looked pathetic, no longer wearing that smug or cunning expression. He begged for forgiveness. He spoke about the toxic family life we had both endured. Hearing him, I did feel a flicker of empathy. We were both victims of our parents. But my wretched brother, the one who always harbored deep jealousy towards me, had agreed to do something he should never have done. He didn't pass up the golden opportunity to prove himself and to ruin my life, the life of the brother he always hated. I couldn't forgive him for what he did. I looked at him, cold and resolute. "Never look for me again, Daniel. I don't have a brother." And that was the end of it. He has to live with his own solitude and regret. That's the price he has to pay for his betrayal and envy. And I have no regrets about that decision.
Time has passed. Things have settled down a lot. Sophia and Daniel's child, yes, my biological nephew, Todd, his legal great-grandfather, which is my paternal grandfather, decided to adopt and care for the boy. He was utterly shocked when he learned the whole truth. Although he's elderly, he's the only one who truly cares for and loves the boy. Final update. Time continued to pass and deep wounds slowly scarred over, but the lingering trauma wasn't easy to shake off. My biological nephew, now a bit older, was toddling and babbling a few words. Even though I'd witnessed his birth from a malicious plot against me, I noticed the child oddly clung to me. Every time I visited great-grandfather Todd, the boy would run up, tightly hug my leg, and beam a wide smile. I still bought him toys, sweets, and played with him whenever I had the chance. I told him stories, made silly faces, and tried to create joyful moments for the boy. However, there was one thing I could never bring myself to do. I never once picked him up. The haunting feeling from what had happened, the betrayal, always weighed heavily on my heart. I feared the thought of physical closeness with a child who was the result of such profound deceit. I could only play with him from a distance, through an invisible wall separating us. Then there was a period when I was extremely busy with work and resolving legal issues. I couldn't visit Todd and the boy for several weeks. One day, when things had calmed down, I stopped by Todd's house. The boy, seeing me, immediately rushed over, babbling my name. He held out a crude crayon drawing. I took the drawing. It was a picture of a large man holding a small child, both smiling brightly. I recognized myself and him in the drawing. At that very moment, I felt an electric current run down my spine. The icy wall in my heart suddenly shattered. All the emotions I'd suppressed for so long burst forth. I knelt down, embraced the boy tightly, holding him close for the first time in my life. Tears streamed down my face, not from pain or anger, but from a profound understanding. I don't know what will happen next in my life or in the boy's life, but I do know one thing for sure. Children are truly innocent. They don't choose their parents or their circumstances. They deserve to be loved, protected, and given the opportunity to become good people, no matter their origin. Perhaps my healing journey and all of ours has only just begun, and perhaps unconditional love for a tiny life will be the guiding path. Thank you for listening to today's story from the Guilty Notes channel. If this story resonated with you, please like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional real-life stories and valuable lessons. See you in the next video.